Have you ever heard of the world's most intelligent man? You might have heard about Nikola Tesla or Albert Einstein, but they're not even in the top 10 of the world's most intelligent people. And there's one person who is at the very top of the list, and almost no one knows about him. After the war, he became one of the leading experts on nuclear weapons. He was also a key player in the development of the hydrogen bomb. But von Neumann was not just a scientist. He was also a philosopher, and he thought deeply about the implications of his work. Here, he became friends with some of the greatest scientists of the day, including Albert Einstein and J. Robert Oppenheimer. When the United States entered World War II, Neumann's friends urged him to join the Manhattan Project, which was the effort to develop the first atomic bombs. Neumann's team faced many setbacks, but eventually they were successful. And in 1952, the United States tested the first hydrogen bomb. It was called Ivy Mike, and it was detonated on the island of Elawana in the Marshall Islands. He continued to work on new and better weapons until his death in 1957. The bomb was a huge success. It released an estimated 10.5 megatons of energy, which is equivalent to 10.5 million tons of TNT. Very few people know that John von Neumann suffered from schizophrenia. People like Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, Nikola Tesla, and Stephen Hawking, he came up with the idea that space and time are intertwined in a four-dimensional fabric called space-time. He became obsessed with the number 3 and would only walk 3 times around the block. It's because he was able to come up with some of the most groundbreaking ideas in history despite having a serious mental illness. He was a true genius who was ahead of his time. But the world wasn't ready for him, and they rejected him. But his ideas didn't go to waste. Other scientists picked up where he left off and built upon his work. Today, his ideas are the foundation of modern physics and technology. Nikola Tesla may be gone, but his mind will live on forever. He would also spend hours talking to reporters about his latest theories, even though he had no evidence to support them. Eventually, he became so delusional that he was committed to a mental institution where he spent the last years of his life. He also proposed that gravity is not a force but a curvature in space-time caused by mass. These ideas were so revolutionary that they changed the way we understand the universe. They also made him famous around the world. From an early age, he showed signs of being different. He was able to memorize entire books by reading them just once. By the time he was 12, he had taught himself calculus and was solving complex equations that had stumped mathematicians for years. He went on to attend university where he studied mathematics and physics. But soon he was bored with the material. It was just too easy for him. He started experimenting with electricity and magnetism, and soon made some groundbreaking discoveries. He invented the Tesla coil, which is still used today in radio technology. He also discovered the rotating magnetic field, which is the basis for all modern electric motors. These people are responsible for some of the most important discoveries and inventions in history. They have changed the way we understand the world around us and have made our lives easier and better in countless ways. However, there is one mind that stands out above all the rest, a mind so brilliant that it has literally changed the course of human history. And the sad thing is that most people don't even know his name. He was institutionalized for several years in the late 1930s, but he didn't let this stop him from making important contributions to science. He was able to keep his condition hidden from most people, including his colleagues and friends, and it was no secret to those who knew him best. His wife and children knew about his illness, and they cared for him during his more intense episodes. Von Neumann was able to function well despite his illness, and he was able to maintain a high level of productivity. He was a brilliant mathematician and physicist, and he made significant contributions to our understanding of the world around us. His work paved the way for many of the technological advances we enjoy today. But what really makes von Neumann stand out is his ability to overcome adversity. Despite suffering from a debilitating mental illness, he was able to make important contributions to science and to help develop some of the most powerful weapons in the world. He was a true inspiration to all of us who face challenges in our lives. He was the most powerful weapon ever detonated. Von Neumann was reluctant to get involved in weapons development, but he eventually agreed to help out. He ended up playing a key role in the project, and he was present at the Trinity test in New Mexico when the first atomic bomb was detonated. Von Neumann realized that the world was entering a new era. He was a member of the U.S. delegation to the UN Atomic Energy Commission, and he helped negotiate the treaties that created the International Atomic Energy Agency. But Neumann's thoughts were already turning to the next generation of nuclear weapons. He knew that the Soviet Union was also close to developing the hydrogen bomb, so he redoubled his efforts. He worked day and night, and he eventually developed a new and even more powerful weapon, the thermonuclear device. The first thermonuclear device was called Castle Bravo. It was detonated on July 1954. It was even more powerful than Ivy Mike. It released an estimated 37 megatons of energy, which is equivalent to 37 million tons of TNT. He knew that the Soviet Union was working on a new type of bomb that would be much more powerful than the bombs that had been dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This new weapon would harness the power of the sun, fusion rather than fission. Newman was worried that if the Soviets developed this weapon first, it would give them a huge advantage. So he set out to help develop the hydrogen bomb. We had entered the atomic age, and we needed to find a way to live with these powerful new weapons. So he set out to find a way to control the arms race and prevent a nuclear war. In the early days of the Cold War, the US and Russia were preparing for the worst. From an early age, he was considered a child prodigy. He learned calculus from his father when he was just 9 years old, and by the time he was 14, he had already published several papers in mathematical journals. Newman attended the University of Budapest, where he studied chemical engineering. But he soon became bored with his classes and started to take more advanced courses in mathematics. He received his PhD in mathematics from the University of Berlin in 1927. They were both stockpiling nuclear weapons and developing new ways to kill each other. It seemed like it was only a matter of time before someone pushed the button. But then, something strange happened. The two sides started talking to each other, and they agreed to stop testing nuclear weapons. But his interests soon turned to other areas such as game theory and economics. In 1930, Newman and his colleague Oscar Morgenstern published a book called Theory of Games and Economic Behavior. This book laid the foundations for the field of game theory, and it has been cited over 250,000 times. This led to decades of peace between the two superpowers, and it all came down to one man. His name was John von Neumann. John von Neumann was a brilliant mathematician and physicist who helped develop the first atomic bombs. He was the son of two wealthy Jewish bankers. Neumann's early work was in the field of set theory. He made important contributions to the foundations of mathematics. In the 1930s, Newman came to the United States, and he joined the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. After the war, Newman continued to work on nuclear issues. The H-bomb was a much more complex weapon than the atomic bomb. It required a completely new approach to physics and engineering. But Newman was not satisfied with this victory. By now, Newman was a national hero. He had helped develop the most powerful weapons in the world, but he was still not done. Let's talk about why he is the smartest person that almost nobody knows. There are so many brilliant minds in the world that have changed our lives for the better. He was born in 1856 in a small village in Austria, but perhaps his greatest contribution to science was his work on the theory of relativity. However, as Nikola Tesla grew older, he became more and more eccentric. Why is Nikola Tesla the smartest man in the world?